Seltzer Time, meatballs!
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Seltzer Time podcast. It's your boy Ricky, aka Dick Chuck, aka the man behind the can at Seltzer Time Official. Here as always with my conversation accomplice, the man with the hunch about Worcester, Travis.
What is crackin' Fizzle Fiends? Welcome back to another episode of the Seltzer Time podcast. And as always, we are so glad you're with us. This week on the show, we are talking to Erik Carlson, teacher, writer, music enthusiast, Dungeons and Dragons coach. He does a lot. He's a good friend of mine, and we had a fun and nerdy but musically inclined conversation. But before we get there, y'all know what we have to do. Y'all know what we have to do. Hey, Ricky, how was your week?
What's up? My week was decent. Yeah, man, just trugging along, you know.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Welcome to October. All of a sudden, we're in October.
Yeah, it's been a very wild couple of days, to say the least. I mean, I don't know about you, but I spent the entire weekend nonstop refreshing Twitter, hoping that, you know, a certain somebody got a little worse.
Yeah, so I feel you. I've been Hawkeyeing Twitter too.
Yeah.
Kellyanne Conway's daughter, is it Colleen Conway?
Something like that, yeah.
She's been the deep throat of our generation, because she's been writing out like, he's not better, he's as sick as ever, the doctors are just trying to stabilize him. Yeah,
no, it's okay. So it's definitely way worse than they're letting on, for sure. You don't just like get COVID and then go to the hospital and then get out like 2 days later and you're fine.
Yeah. Like, people are drawing parallels to Herman Cain's case and his very quick decline that he took. And then, so Sarah and I were actually talking about this stuff over dinner, and she brought up Grover Cleveland, how Grover Cleveland had a tumor removed and he snuck out of the White House and had it removed on a yacht.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know it either.
I didn't know that.
She brought it to my attention. She heard it at some other podcast. So I have some more reading to do. I mean, I can't say that I blame him, but at a certain point, it's one thing to not let the world see that you have cancer, and it's another thing to not let the world see that you have the same pandemic disease that's going around that literally everybody's has anyway.
So it's also like complete fucking insanity. Like, you completely dropped the ball on trying to protect the country, which is literally your job, because you are a horrible person.
Yeah, man.
And then not only that, but like, you provide pretty much no help to the American people. 200,000 plus people are dead that we even know of, because obviously they're skirting those numbers. And then you catch it, infest pretty much the entire White House.
Take a ride and infect your freaking Secret Service that have sworn and protect your ass. And
hey, man,
this isn't a political
how
podcast. It is. So clearly we are infuriated.
It's just wild. Yeah. I don't know. I think, you know what? I just actually got my poke.
Heyo. Yeah, we were talking before the show how Ricky didn't know what his poke is, but it always seems to come to a mid-show.
It's true. It really does. So, yeah. So, okay. Aside from all of that stuff, my week was good. I played Tony Hawk Pro Skater, finally.
Nice.
So I've had it for like a month. Finally, like, set the PS4 up and played. It was awesome. Had a blast. NHL free agency starts this weekend. So the other reason I've been glued to Twitter is that it's always like I mean, it's obviously never this time of year. Normally the season starts like tomorrow, not ends. So it's kind of strange, but it's pretty crazy. The Bruins seem to be involved in everything, which I'm excited about. And Worcester's holiday prep is very much so in full force.
I saw photos of the sticker that we did. I don't know. Oh yeah, they already put it up, the mannequin.
Oh yeah. That came out so good.
It was fun. It was real fun to draw. It is weird every time you have to draw like a woman's crotch and you're just staring at a woman's crotch on your screen for a solid 15 minutes.
Trying to bring that sign in is always an awkward
it really
situation.
Is. And you have to grab it from underneath. And you're like, I'm not grabbing her by the pussy, I promise.
Yeah, it's wild.
I feel
it's wild.
So I used to work at this print shop and we got a contract to add some cutouts for the Basketball Hall of Fame. So one of the cutouts was for Larry Bird. So for a solid half hour, I had to draw a path all the way around Larry Bird. But when my boss came in to check on it, of course, I just have Larry Bird's crotch, the entire size of my screen. And I'm drawing in just that middle area between his thighs. And it looked like I was a big Larry Bird fan.
Yeah.
It was awesome. So
How
my week was chill. Josh cleaned me up this week. I feel so pretty and so much more put together.
There you go.
My parents came up this weekend. They wanted to go apple picking. Well, they brought us a mattress. My mom brought us this mattress topper, but it wasn't really a topper. It's really a whole mattress. And now I have to get rid of a mattress. It's a whole thing. But they brought it up, and my mom has lived out here probably like, I don't know, 30 something years, almost 40 years. She's from Oregon originally, but she's never gone true apple picking. So I'm like, well, we got to fix that. And we went apple picking, and that was real fun. We went out to Stowe Farm. And then, so Sarah really wanted a pumpkin. I don't like pumpkins. I'm sorry for anybody that feels this way. They're fine, right?
Yeah.
But in our house, they inherently go on the stairs and then they sit there and they rot, and they'll be there until November, December. And usually what happens is the first snowfall is also the time where I take the snow shovel and scoop off the rotten pumpkin off the front. And I'm good. I don't need any more. But now we have 2 freaking pumpkins.
We just picked up 2. We just picked up 2 like last week. But we obviously have never had to do this, so I'm not really sure how it's going to go.
Do you own a snow shovel?
Yeah. Okay. Ooh, speaking of which, I have a snow blower that I need to call and get this like piece for the tire that holds the tire on for. I got to call the company.
Do it now. If you check the Farmer's Almanac, this year is going to be cold and it's going to be snowy.
Sick.
Of course, 2020 is not giving up without a fight, and this shit's going to roll over to 2021.
It's going to be a bitch. Speaking of cold, wait, hold on. How was the rest of your week?
No, you're fine. So pumpkins, the people at Stowe Farms did a great job with apple picking, and they kept it very safe. But they wanted to charge you $3 to go into like the petting zoo area, but that's also where they kept the pumpkins. So for 4 of us, it would have cost $12 just to go in to take a look at where the pumpkins are. So shout out to the older woman that was in the Stowe Farm, I don't know, shop, I guess you would call it. She told us to go up to Hawk Hill Orchard, which is her cousin's orchard, which is basically up around the hill. This is all in Auburn. And he had the pumpkins right there, and he was also sweet. If you like farm fresh food, like apple cider donuts and that sort of thing, go check out Hawk Hill Orchard or either Stowe Farms. They could really, really, really use your assistance. Like everybody else, they took a big hurt from COVID this year, and they have tons of delicious stuff. Ricky's watching the Pats game.
Yeah. No, Kansas City just picked them off again. Not like it matters, but
I understand.
Yeah, so speaking of being cold, I tweeted out at Patagonia like 2 weeks ago, maybe like 3 weeks ago now. And I was like, yo, Patagonia, I need a new winter jacket. Point me in the right direction and I'll put you guys in my MySpace top 8. So like of course Patagonia like didn't reply. And I was like, duh, like I wouldn't either if I was managing their social media. I would probably like it because I'm like, that's pretty funny. Do a MySpace reference in there. So then like a week plus went by and all of a sudden I get a DM from Patagonia and I was like, oh my God, this is it. I'm like one of those like super lucky guys who Patagonia like thinks is funny because of MySpace and they're going to give me this jacket. And I was like, what the fuck? So I like open it and they're like, hey Ricky, like, we'd love to assist you in a jacket. Or they tweeted me and then they were like, feel free to send us a DM. And it had like a DM like invite thing. So I was like, hell yeah. So I DM'd them. I'm like, hey guys, like, I was like, I have like this really cool Volcom jacket that I love, but it's like a little too small. And I've had it for like 6 years now. Like it's like kind of, you know, it's a little blown out. So they're like, awesome. Like, what are you looking for? So I was like, okay. So I explained like exactly what I want. It's just like a, you know, a clean looking black winter jacket. I don't like poofy, bubbly things. It's not my style. So then they're like, all right, cool. What are your, where do you live? What are the conditions like? And what do you plan on doing? And I was like, I live in Massachusetts. It's winter very soon and it's cold and gross. And then I pretty much just needed to like get out of my car to go get coffee because your boy doesn't fucking snowboard or anything. So, and then they sent me, so they sent me over. They're like, awesome, this sounds great. They sent me over a link and I was like, okay, I know that whatever it is they're going to send me is going to be way out of my price range, which it was by a lot of money.
They're like $400 jackets, right?
I mean, they have everything. They sent me over a $600 jacket. Was it 6? I think it was 6. Or it was either 6 or 8. It was very, very expensive. And I was like, oh, dude, like I wear a hoodie most of the time. This is like a... I'm not.
I think you misunderstood me. I'm getting out of a Kia Sportage to go get my coffee.
Yeah, like I'm not like... I don't even know what the hell you would do with an $800 jacket. But like I'm not doing whatever that is. So I was like, oh, like thank you guys so much. But to their credit, they did send me over exactly what I wanted. Like it was
a T.
Yeah. Like once Seltzer Time pops and we start making $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 a month, I'll probably buy that jacket. But again, until then, like, sorry guys. So I told them, I was like, hey, like that is like actually the perfect jacket. And I'm like really jealous, but I can't do that right now. And then they were like, well, okay, what if we like, what's your price range? So I was like, I'm probably between like 2 and 3. And like, even that's like kind of on the higher level for me. Cause I really don't wear jackets. So I was like, yeah, probably somewhere between like 2 and 3. And they sent me over like 2 more jackets. One of them was really cool. One of them wasn't for me, but both of them were basically like $300. And I was like, these are great. I'll let you guys know what I go with. And they're like, awesome. Yeah, please let us know. Like, we hope you enjoy it. And I was like, what? Like
that person did their job.
No, exactly. So I was stoked about like, I thought it was kind of cool that that was such a cool like customer experience. But it would have been cooler if it wasn't that much money.
Patagonia, why are you playing?
Yeah, if I was like a snowboarder or like a snow jet, what are they called? Snowmobile guy. Like if I was one of those guys who's like out in the snow all the time, every day.
Oh, like an abominable snowman.
Yeah, or like a expeditionist or something. Then like, fuck yeah, dude, I'd spend that much money because I'm like living in that code. But like when all I'm doing is getting out of my car at New Tradition and taking 11 to 13 steps to get to the door, I don't really need that. Respect. I just feel like that's not a proper use of my money.
I will invest in a good coat. Like coats and hiking shoes are one of the 2 things that I'll invest in. But even still, like 150, 200 is the most that I want to spend on a good coat. Like a good Carhartt work jacket. Ends up running like $150 or something like that. But I get 5-6 winters out of it before the thing starts fraying. Yeah.
I got super lucky with the jacket that I do have. I bought this, like, it's like a Volcom winter jacket that I didn't even think was going to fit me. And it did, but I got it during the like summer sale or something at Concrete Wave. So it was like $90 and I've had it for like 5 years and it's fucking awesome. But I only wear that when it's like snowing or like, when it's really cold. I usually just get away with like a denim jacket or like a hoodie.
Yeah.
So.
Well, this year you're going to need a coat. So hopefully Patagonia's listening.
Hopefully Patagonia is like, fuck, man. I didn't realize that they had a podcast.
This compelling coat content.
Yeah. Like somebody get these kids these kids were grown ass people.
I don't need a Patagonia. You can just give it to Ricky. Ricky needs it all.
They're going to hook both of us up. We are a package deal. We are going to Patagonia Influencers, the podcast collection.
We'll take a nature podcast where we'll go take hikes and wearing our Patagonia gear.
Done.
And we're coming up. This episode is filled with ideas, and there's our segue because we had another idea when we were talking to Eric.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I can convince Ricky to do it, but let's see if you guys think.
I'm into it.
All right. Take us away, us. What is cracking, guys? This week on the show, we are talking to my good friend, Erik Carlson, teacher, writer, music enthusiast, and I've just learned that he is a Dungeons and Dragons coach. Erik, thank you so very much for taking some time and talking with us. How are you?
Thank you. It was the vinyl jacket that threw you though, right? The sparkly blue that I have here that says DM for life.
Yeah, I mean,
that was.
Can you letter? I have so many questions. Can you letter in? It's a club and not a team, right? Do you competitive? I got to slow down.
Well, first of all, just you saying team suddenly makes me think that we should be competitive. We're not.
Interesting.
I run so I teach high school, and I currently have, well, not with COVID, but pre-COVID, had 50 kids in the D&D club.
Whoa.
Which is more kids than were on our football team. So yeah,
that's crazy.
Nuts. I can't even begin to brag about how rad these kids are. So one of my DMs makes all her own figurines, and she and her dad wanted to make a larger dragon. So they took apart their 3D printer, made a bigger 3D printer by printing the pieces and putting it together, and then construct. Like, these are my kids, and this is just a public high school. They're ravenous. So yeah, it's a club, but it's really become a life brand. These kids, they're in it for the long haul. I get emails about once a week or twice a week from kids. They've been running sessions all summer.
Why not? That's like one of the few things you could do over video.
Yeah, no, they absolutely. As long
as everybody has a set of dice.
Yeah.
Or using it for online dice rolls.
Oh no, it's all roll20.net is just, I don't want to plug them, they don't get anything from them, but now I should. They're pretty fantastic.
Right.
With 50 kids, you could run like a Battle of Helm's Deep where they're like battling each other as two armies. You're entering into what is that, Warcraft? But
yes,
it would be fantastic. I've never seen or heard something like that orchestrated with that many players.
So we divide up. There are 6 different groups. I've got 5 student DMs, and then they have. We draft at the beginning of the year. So the DMs and I get together and we look at spread out all the kids in their character sheets, and we try to spread them out via, do you have a tank? Do you have a healer? Do you have this kind of character? I take all of the kids who need extra assistance. I have a lot of autistic kids in my group, a lot of kids who require teacher aides who stay after so they can work through it. And they're great kids. We have to play evil because they don't have a lot of the things that a regular, I don't say regular, but a lot of things that a kid, a lot of the hesitancy that a kid might have, they don't. So it's like, we go into town, I acid splash the mayor. Okay, that's what we're going to do then. Acid splash the mayor. You go up and see the mayor, and it's real kind of topsy-turvy. A lot of learning about social and emotional cues through the game.
Fascinating.
So, I joked earlier that I love trying to kill them, but what I really mean is I love putting them in situations where they have to really focus about how to get out. I find that a lot of the kids I have are pretty far on the spectrum, so they can't read the visual cues. They can't read faces and emotions and see when they've hurt somebody's feelings, or they can't, do certain things. And we kind of use the game to coach them through that. And
That's amazing.
Yeah. And it seems to work. You get the same kids coming back for year after year. This would have been the 4th year that we ran it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Life lessons through Dungeons and Dragons. I've never thought, but it makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I know absolutely nothing about Dungeons and Dragons. So
Eric,
like not a single thing.
One of these days we're going to have to run a session, and then we can record it, and then people can listen to us having a
I think you would enjoy it. I actually run an older adult league on Tuesday nights.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's all, it started with this, we had a men's group, right? And we did really manly things like watch B films and drink soda and eat pizza all night. And it just sort of adapted. And as they started to have, a lot of my friends started to have kids and they started to grow older, because I'm about a decade older than you guys. So most of those kids are like between like 15 and 20 now.
Okay.
So we started, the dads and I, we get together on Tuesday nights and we run a league, and we just started bringing in now some of their kids. So my godson, who's now 20, is playing with us. And, it's a weird dynamic, because you see him with his father and they're kind of contentious in real life. And when they play, they have to play as a team. And so for at least, 3 hours every Tuesday, they're together. And it's cool. I'm a firm believer in the therapeutic nature of Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
But yes, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll test it out. But nerdy stuff aside, I guess that we should probably introduce Erik as to like how I came to meet him. That was more nerdy stuff. I was really interested in writing comic books, and I went to a thing in Cambridge called MICE, which is a free comic book convention for independent creators. And I met Erik, and I had all these questions that tons of people just didn't want to answer. And Erik took the time to sit there and like explain plot to me and explain kind of like all these really kind of basic stuff I should have learned back in school, but didn't really pay attention to. But then he worked with me, and now we've been friends for years. We check in at some of these nerdy conventions at least once a year. And yeah, that's my story.
No, I would say yes to that. Exactly. I think part of it too was your excitement, right? So you came to the table and you were like, oh, I've got these ideas and I've got X, Y, and Z. And, if I sent you where I am, a lot of people come at conventions and they idea pitch, right? They just throw like, I'd love to do this, this, and this. And you kind of go, oh, that's really awesome. If you ever want to share it, do it. And it's a bluff. Nobody ever does it except for you, Travis, who was like, sure. And so I figured since you were in, I might as well.
No, I really appreciate it. I guess that was my point. I do appreciate the time and like kind of that fostering of my understanding of because up until that point, I thought it was just capes and like I just dipped my toes into it. And then I'm learning about how these adult comics now are way different, and they just keep making television show after television show. I cannot stop hearing enough about The Boys. And I'm like, y'all should just read it because it's probably 10 times better. But I don't know. I think that's super cool that you took the time and that I was lucky enough to find a teacher.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I'll pat myself on the back for that.
Please. I wish I could do it digitally.
It's, I think that most of our learning takes place out of school, right? Like as a teacher, I have to reconcile the stuff I have to teach with the reluctancy of kids to want to learn things I'm passionate about. And so the best I can do is what I call the pinless grenade. Is I pull the pin, I throw it at the kids, and then it explodes, right? And it goes everywhere. And those little bits of knowledge embed themselves like shrapnel in the kids. And years later, it's going to irritate them enough that they're either going to want to forget about it or they're going to want to pursue it. And that's, I think, when real knowledge happens, is when kids, adults, just anybody comes at a new piece of information and says, I just don't feel like you're ever too old to sort of figure all this stuff out. And I welcome, especially people once they're out of high school, to come back and say, what did I miss? Give me some books. I have, we were talking about before about what projects I've been working on. And I used to run a podcast called The Novel Sound. Ran for 99 episodes. You're about to see a pattern here. And it ran for 99 episodes. It started back in 2009. And what I would do is I would take books that were just off of the norm, small press label books and stuff like that. And I'd create punk rock or country or
Surf
soundtracks
rock.
for them. Surf rock soundtracks for them.
Those playlists were fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I learned a lot of bands during those playlists. They were great. I'll be honest, I didn't read a lot of the stuff that they were paired to, but I learned a lot of music, and they were super fun. So you were saying?
Oh, you weren't supposed to. I mean, my ideal was that people would go out immediately and buy the book and read it and go, yes, this works. But after 99 episodes, I wasn't sure where I was going with it anymore. I was kind of feeling like my premise was to never repeat a song and never repeat an author. And so it was just this constant demand of research and figuring stuff out and reaching out. And it just got exhausting to do on my own. So I grabbed a co-host and did a show called Cut X Cut, Cut by Cut. And that went for 99 episodes. So I have no obsessive compulsive issues in my life. So like there is nothing in me that has a problem with something being out of order, 99 episodes is the perfect place to stop, because why not? So I'm thinking about starting a new thing in January that's actually going to go on Patreon. I don't know if you guys have worked with anything on Patreon yet.
We have one. We've never used it.
Oh, we do have one. We haven't actually set it up.
Oh, okay.
It's this idea that we keep playing with. It was something we were pushing way harder right before COVID hit. And then it's just kind of taken a backseat to figuring out everything else.
Can I ask what you guys were planning on doing with it?
So in a perfect world, we would get ahead of ourselves in terms of these interviews and not edit overnight and release the following day. So in theory, people on the internet would get an episode 2 weeks behind. Patrons would get an episode either a week behind, or do an extended cut for the patrons and do the edited cut for general public. Keep the general public episode down to an hour, but the edited or unedited rather goes to the Patreon, and then have t-shirts and stickers and that sort of deal.
Now, you're still doing a lot of graphic art stuff for your own occupation, but are you still doing a lot of it as recreation as well? That's
Absolutely.
Terrific.
Yeah, no, it's, I don't know. I'm cracked in that way. That's just what I need to do. We have plans. Ricky and I have plans to do stuff with Seltzer Time. It truly just takes capital. And at a time when, he's just get back and employed and I'm self-employed, investing, $1,000 in merchandise and hoping that people buy it is just a very daunting. So we were talking about advertisers and sponsorships for a minute. And then again,
a lot of that fell apart because of COVID.
And that's a hard sell, when you get that government relief check and you go, wait a second, I could use this for its intended purposes, or it could really fund Seltzer Time.
Right.
It's still a hard sell to anybody you're talking to.
Yeah. And this guy went and got himself a house, and I already had a mortgage and a wife. So it's like, you got way more convincing than just yourself to do.
Yep. Now, Ricky, did you just get a house?
Yeah, we just moved in. We moved in like a little over a month ago. or no, a little over 2 months ago. And then we had to move out for a couple of weeks because we got all the floors redone.
Yeah.
So that took like a week to get done, but then like 2 weeks to cure. So we were out for pretty close to a month again.
That's a smart move though. You guys had somebody come in and do it.
Yeah. My dad
genius.
did some of the floors at my parents' house, and like he had no experience doing it. He's relatively handy, but like by no means a professional. And even he was like, I'm so jealous. Like, it's the smartest fucking move. Just do it before you move anything in. Like, it's just a clean slate.
I cannot agree with your father more. My house, when I bought it, I did all the floors, stained them all,
nice.
stripped them all down, stained them, did everything. I've got hardwoods, and I thought I had done a crackerjack job. I thought I was like a fucking hero, from like never having seen wood to like perfect laminate. And about a year ago, I was having some work done on my kitchen, and the guy comes out and he's like, "Hey, you want me to move some stuff out and redo your floors?" And I'm like, "Well, floors are my shining thing, man. I did those." He's like, "Yeah, you did. Hey, you did a shitty job." I was like, "Oh man, I was so heartbroken." But so you did the right move. Whatever whatever time and energy went into getting somebody else.
Yeah, it was good. It was very smart to get it before so for like the month-ish that we lived here before we had it done, we only had like our bed, a nightstand, and I think like half our couch is a sectional. So we had like a section of the couch.
Nice.
And that was it. Everything else was in the garage. So now we finally have like some furniture in the house. So it's kind of nice.
And now you'll always look back at that, that month period where you were vagrants during COVID, right?
Exactly.
I had to live in the garage, kids.
In the grand scheme of life too, what's a month?
Exactly.
Those are the adventures though. Like,
yeah,
right. Those are the times where you have a choice. You can either bemoan it and complain and be like, or you can go, this is going to be an amazing story someday. And someday people are going to come in, they're going to look at your floors and you go, we lived for a month on a sectional just to get this done. We struggled. We know.
See, and this is all the more reason why we need people to buy our Patreon and support us.
I say you just put it up after the show. I say you just, look at the goodwill of people. I'm skeptical about Patreon. I did a comic book years ago called Tiki P.I. And supernatural Hawaiian detective with a tiki face. Yes. And it was kind of a mix of Scooby-Doo meets Brady Bunch meets Hawaii Five-0. And if you were really there and you were like a keen observer will notice all kinds of little things, my artist, Bill, like I keep him in a box. My friend, Bill, who's an artist, who's the artist. Come on, Bill.
Shut up, Bill.
Yeah, exactly. He's terrific. And he is of like the Scott Morse, Jim Mahfood, school of whatever you can hide in a panel will bring people back to the book. And so it kind of, his art makes up for some sluggish writing. Some of my finer writing makes up for some sluggish art. We were a real compendium. And then he bought a house. I went through some stuff and we put it on hiatus. And so we just finished 6 and 7, but we had the Kickstarter curse where the book was like literally like a fart from being done. And we went on Kickstarter. We got the thing met. We were all excited, stretch goals, blah, blah, blah. One of my proudest moments was there was a band called Speedball Junior who did a soundtrack for us. So we put out a 7-inch. Travis, did you ever get one of those?
I didn't get the 7-inch.
All right. You guys have record players? I'll send you some.
Oh yeah.
That would be incredible.
Hell yeah.
It's one of the guys from the Stooges, Steve McKay, who played sax for the Stooges. That was his last recording before he passed away. So that's my little claim to fame.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. He was on he did some work with the Violent Femmes and stuff. He was a good man, good
very
friend. And was hard to lose him, but yeah. So I'll send those out to you. I think you'll like them. And then Sean Dickinson, who now does the Cuphead comics and the video game Cuphead.
Yeah, I'm familiar. It's
1920s looking Disney era comic stuff. And
cool.
Sean
difficult.
Stupidly. But Sean has done some work for Fender guitars, Dark Horse, stuff like that. So I'm thinking about, so I decided with COVID, I was going to rebrand, getting back to the whole Patreon thing. I was going to rebrand my classroom as the Amazing Intellitorium, right? We're not in school. Why call it class, right? So this is the Amazing Intellitorium, and it's got all kinds of quests and it's got all kinds of adventures, and I run it like a video game where the kids can do the main quest or they can do side quests. It's as interactive and it's exciting as the kids want it to be. I want to take that premise and bring it to adult education and do books that maybe as adults people think I should have read. You know, like you meet people who are in their like late 20s, 30s, 40s, who have never read To Kill a Mockingbird, who have never read Of Mice and Men, who have never read Beloved by Toni Morrison or Kindred by Octavia Butler, and want to bring it in a way where you get the Patreon thing would be 4 classes a month for the book. And then non-Patreons would get like the one YouTube video at the beginning of the month. We're still figuring it out.
Cool.
Probably getting ahead of myself by talking about it here.
No, I feel you.
Yeah, that's such a cool thing though.
But yeah, it started with a buddy of mine who lives in Boston who was trying to get me to do an adult Steinbeck course where I would just teach John Steinbeck for a year to adults online. And I was like, there's got to be some way to make money off this. I can't keep doing stuff for free.
I hear you.
You know, eventually I've got to pay a bill. You can only shove air into an envelope for so long.
The people hate IOUs.
Yeah, they do. They really do. When the gas company reaches out and you're like, next month, I swear to God, I promise you'll get it.
Just do it for the exposure. It's like, well, I can't pay shit with that. So
just give me the gas for exposure, guys. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, right.
I'll tell
I think we can all
everybody.
agree exposure is something people die of, right?
Thank you. That is my answer immediately.
Yeah. So it's been a good couple months in terms of taking all of my nervous and angry and sort of let it burn views of the world right now and pumping it into this stuff. It's just, I really think, it comes from a place of privilege that I'm not really as affected in some ways, but also I've been really going out of my way to be active and to not feel like I'm just sideline coaching or not just Facebook preaching.
No, I feel that.
You got to be productive. I think, regardless of what side you're on, I think you've got to be out there making productive noise and living by example.
We couldn't agree more.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like we kind of glossed over the cut by cut podcast stuff and even the novel sound. I mean, music is clearly an important thing to you. For starters, like, what are you jamming to help you get through quarantine? Like, are you digging back through your back catalog? Are you looking for new stuff?
I'm always looking for new stuff. I quit smoking about a decade ago. It was like a pack a day. I really loved cigarettes. And when I stopped smoking, I was like, okay, all this money will always be earmarked for records. So every month, $40, $50, whatever I was spending on cigarettes. And I think I have a bigger Bandcamp habit than I ever had a smoking habit.
That's awesome.
If you don't know Bandcamp, it's a site where
it's incredible.
Okay, good. So I don't want to waste
for
time.
The listeners. No, just please go through it.
So it's a place where all right, do I do this from my pulpit or do I do this from the commoner seats? Let me do this from the commoner seats. It's just a really awesome site where bands can upload, you get some person sitting on their couch with their boombox, but then you also get larger bands, and then they can put digital files, records, cassettes now are coming back, cassettes, CDs.
Really are.
So when you go to the main page on Bandcamp, there is a ticker tape across the bottom of what's being sold. I watch that ticker tape like remember Trading Places? Remember that scene where the guy's like sitting there just watching the stock market stuff come in? That's me. I just watch it, and I'll just eat breakfast and drink my coffee, and it is, honest to God, you get to a point in your age where pornography doesn't mean anything anymore. You're just like honest to God, you're like, I don't even care about, like, good for them. I watch like porn. I literally watch this like, oh yeah, look at that cover. Oh, that's in the death metal section? Oh, okay. Yep, just click on that one, save that tab for later. So I got like 9 tabs, and then I go through it and I listen, and I download, and I've got like my own little barometers. So I always start with small bands first. So like if I have like 7 or 8 things in my box, I'm like, all right, well, I'm only spending this much money. And I go for the smaller bands first with the greatest outreach. Yeah. And Bandcamp has been doing Bandcamp Fridays.
That's what I was going to say. Are you been saving them for Bandcamp Fridays, or?
That's the goal. And my partner would love to tell you that I am doing a really good job of meeting that goal. But honest to God, like any habit and like with any junkie, it's just like, I'm just going to squeeze in this one album.
Yep.
If I get this one, nobody's going to know. It's cool. It's really cool. So who have I been listening to? So I've been really listening to, there's a kid named Nick Shoulders, who is pretty awesome. He's from Arkansas, and he has kind of like a Slim Pickens yodel and a very keen sense of humor.
Okay.
So his stuff is good. A guy named Dale Hollow, who is just absolutely amazing. His whole thing is like, I'm torn between, is this real or is this shtick?
Okay.
Right? So he's country music superstar, trademark pending. And
that's awesome.
His songs are about owing bookies, and yeah. I did a podcast for Cut by Cut, Travis, about 2 years ago, where I guess, what do you call it? The punk rock retirement plan. You grow up like as a young kid going like go see Black Flag, going to see 7 Seconds, whenever they came around, going to a lot of punk shows. I mean, I think what I've told people, like my students, is like, yeah, Green Day is awesome. I saw them for $5 at a 36-hour music marathon in Providence.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I was sitting next to this kid with really shitty teeth and halitosis and terrible acne. And he was like, oh, well, that's really cool, talking. He was like, well, I'm going to get up on stage now as Billy Joel. And it was like, I wasn't like cool. I'm just old. Right. So I was there when a lot of these bands were around, and I went to them. And my train of thought just derailed, but
that's still pretty cool. I don't care what you say.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So I love supporting smaller bands. I love looking out for stuff. I love reaching out and trying to do the stuff, and Cut by Cut was a chance to take apart that stuff and really give it some thought and think about it.
So you did one 2 years ago that you were talking about.
Yeah. So 2 years ago, my partner and I, Buck, we decided that we were going to spend a week listening to Cat Country.
The radio station?
The radio station.
Okay. I'm so excited to hear how this went.
So, not well. I have a very low bullshit factor. I really don't like being sold I don't like slick. I don't believe in slick. I think slick, there's something wrong when something is really slick and really well packaged. You're covering up something. And I don't believe in conspiracy theories. There's just something wrong when it's too clean. And I felt that a week of Cat Country. So what did I figure out? After a week of listening to Cat Country, I started listening and I was like, well, there's a lot of hip hop beats coming up in this stuff, which is strange. They're still singing about all the stereotypes, which is strange.
Yeah.
They're still all proud to be Americans. That's not strange. I mean, I guess that's always been at the heart of, foundational. And, but I was blown away by the lack of female representation on Cat Country. And I was really blown away that all of the dudes who were singing were all like, yeah, and I was listening to this, John Cougar song in my car. And I'm like, what is your target audience that you have a hip hop beat and you're quoting John Cougar? Who are you? The world? Like, who are you aiming for?
Right.
I don't get that. And then if I was lucky enough to be listening when there was a female performer, it was that level of slick. No, don't get me wrong. Like I love T Swift. Like I think that Folklore was a great album. 1989 is a great album. She's a generational talent. I really believe that. So I'm not okay with, I'm okay with nice production and strong production, but it just seemed strange that the women who were singing were all 19, 20, 21. The guys who were singing were like 90, and there's just this weird sort of spectrum. And I really felt like I was being fed. I really feel like I was being fed dirt and somebody was telling me it was steak.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. I could not do a whole week. I was hanging out with my mom this weekend and she showed me her favorite song right now. I don't even remember who it's by, but it literally, it's like when I'm drinking whiskey, I hang out with my friend Jack, and I turned to my mom. I'm like, Mom, I liked this song way better when George Thorogood put it out. And she was like, no, this is different. And I'm like, yeah, but it kind of isn't. And it's just garbage. It's just repackaged garbage.
There was go ahead.
No, you go.
No, Ricky, please.
All right. So,
Canadian Standoff.
Right. So growing up, I like pretty much only listened to hip hop and punk rock. And then my senior year of high school, probably like a year before that, but like, especially my senior year of high school, which was like 2006, the Warped Tour music went from being like NoFX and Rancid to like crabcore and like metalcore and stuff like that, which didn't hold my attention. Everything was like neon and screaming. So I like made it my like life's goal to get into country music because I couldn't do that. And I started listening to at that point, I don't know what it was like in the rest of the country, but at least up in Massachusetts, I was pretty much my only friend who listened to country music. Yep. But I got into it by listening to like 98.5 or 102.5, whatever. I forget the country station up here. But when I got into it, it was like Kenny Chesney was huge and all these guys were big. And I liked a bunch of that music for a couple of years. Then I had to stop listening to it because I started to feel like you were. I was like, oh, it's kind of the same thing. Like it is a lot of like weird hip hop beats. Everybody's singing about drinking a cold Bud Light on a Friday night and they all sound exactly the same. I can't do it anymore. And I haven't listened to country radio in a very long time. I still listen to country music, just it tends to be things that'll probably never be on the radio.
And that's 100% it, right? Like the stuff on the radio isn't country music. That's what people think we want country music to be. The more you start expanding and the more you start looking for other bands, the more you realize how diverse country music really is. How many views. Orville Peck, right? Who's huge right now.
I love Orville Peck.
Oh,
He's so good.
Have you seen him?
No, I was supposed to. So I didn't really get into him until like the very end of last year. I was like, who is this guy that I keep seeing? All of my favorite bands are posting about this person, which is usually how I find like the artists that I really love is through the bands I like. And eventually I put it on, completely fell in love with it. And then he was supposed to play Boston Calling this year, which would have been my first time seeing him. And I was hoping like, okay, I'll catch him at the festival and then he'll do a headline run probably in the fall and I'll get to see him in a club and like really get to experience it. And then, COVID happened. So I didn't get to see him.
I'm just taking notes here because I got to send you something.
Okay.
So that was one of my Bandcamp things was going back, 2018, end of 2018, the preview for Pony, the pre-order for Pony came around. And like it was like 2 or 3 of them came around, came through the ticker tape on Bandcamp. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know what the hell is happening with this dude in the cowboy hat who looks like a lamp, but
right? That's part of the thing that drew me to him. Like, what the fuck is this? Like,
and I am obsessed with purposely not knowing. Like people will be like, well, and I'm like, no. And like I have in my collection other bands that he's been in.
Do you really?
Yeah, he was in a band called Eating Out, who were really fantastic.
Was he the drummer in that band?
No, I think he's the singer guitarist in that band, right?
Somebody
New Sensei he was a drummer in.
I think that's the band that I found out that he was from.
And I became obsessed. And so I got the pre-order from Sub Pop and stuff. And then I went and saw him the first night he played The Great Scott in Boston.
Yeah.
With my buddy Buck. And I ended up going 2 more times, Boston and New York, going back to back.
Nice.
And once that was really it. Cause I've always loved the obvious ones. Dolly. You are an inhuman monster if you don't like Dolly.
You can't just appreciate her. Yeah.
He has more songs than some beaches have sand, but like, and they're not all great. And I am totally fine admitting that as an icon for America, Dolly is it. We should just have statues of her. I don't,
I'm into it. I'm so into it.
Endorsed.
And she's just amazing. And she plays both sides very well. And she just has an even temperament. And like Johnny Cash or, Chris Christopherson. There's just a lot of people out there, Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Loretta Lynn, who I've become passionate about.
Yeah, she's unbelievably good. I knew that name growing up. And then as I got older, like did Jack White do something with her? Okay, I think that's how she like re-emerged on my radar. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, she's terrific. And the more I started going back to that stuff, the more I found opened up.
Yeah.
And I realized that things like Cat Country, or would you say 98, whatever.
It's WKLB. I forget the like numbers of it. It's like 102 something or 98 something or whatever.
Yeah. It's like ordering a Dr. Pepper and being given just a Coke, or a Pepsi. And you're like, there's no flavor to this. This is just sugar in liquid. But there's actually, this is really strange. So I started playing banjo about a year ago.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I love banjo music.
I've gotten to that age where like I said earlier, I'm reading nonfiction. I'm reading books about the Civil War. Like I've really become like my uncle, and that's just harrowing. But the idea, so I speaking of Jack White and the Third Man company that he runs, I was watching this banjo concert a couple nights ago, because one of the things that has been really amazing during COVID is the amount of live stream concerts.
Right.
Yes, it's been amazing to watch all those.
It's been cool to get access to them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I argue, and this is a great like dinner time conversation argument, because it really doesn't hurt anybody at the end of the day. But do those count as actually seeing the band live?
So I got to go with no.
Okay.
I said, to me, I feel like it's also, well, oh shit. Because I would say unless you pay a ticket price, but even still.
But you do for the you pay to like get the live stream access.
I would say no. Like Dinosaur Jr. was doing a show down in Connecticut. My buddy was trying to talk me into where you buy 2 tickets and you basically get a 6-foot circle where it's you and whoever else you get a ticket with. And they've built the whole thing out in this grid. That sounded, but I would say online is just like watching them on SNL.
Okay. All right. I can hear that. And I agree with that. But I will counter with when you go and see a stadium show, like, I don't know if you're sports fans, but if you go to like see a football game, it's all on the screens. And so, yes, you are there.
True.
But I think most people watch it on the screens because they're so commanding. It's so hard not to. We're so programmed to watch screens that football is happening in front of us, and we're still all going, "Huh? Yeah, it looks like it's happening."
For the same reason I like watching football at home is because I can't, from the seats that I can afford, I can't see the shit. Same with like I saw Rage Against the Machine at the New Haven Coliseum. You're absolutely right. I watched the screen and listened to. I stand corrected.
So just smoke a bunch of dope, fill up your house with dope smoke, and like bring over 80 friends and just stand in the back on your couch and watch the live stream. There you go.
I'll project it on the back of the house. That sounds rad.
So I'm having this. I love this sort of as an idea, right? And so I was watching this live show. Rest where you will with it. And there was this girl named Nora Brown, and she gets up and I have to admit, like, you get to like a certain age and you look at like a child who's like a tween, I guess a tween, right? She's like 13, you know, and you're like, "Whoa, what do you got for us, little girl?" And honest to God, it was just, no, she did, dude. It was like, and not only that, so like one of the things that's cool about banjo is that every banjo nerd will be like, "Well, here's my teacher. I'm going to play this song. It's styled after this particular person's performance." And I don't know why it's a legacy thing. It's just a weird thing that people do. And she gets up there and she's like, "Well, this is my banjo. It was given to me by," and then she names, this big old timey banjo player who's long since died. And she's like, "And I have to ship it off to the Library of Congress tomorrow so it can get registered." And I'm like, "What? You're 13, child. Like, what are you doing?" And then she just
weird flex, but what you got for us?
Yeah. And then she like, oh my God, she just owned for like an hour. She just played. And I'm like, oh, crikes. It's a weird feeling to be like, yeah, I just bought an album from a kid 30 years younger than me. You know what I mean? Like if I had half an ounce of her cool at 13, I'd be in a very different place right now.
Right.
Besides, my library. But I saw it. So the Bandcamp stuff has really been huge, and listening to music. I will throw out, Orville Peck, Dale Hollow, Nick Shoulders, Nora Brown, all awesome. If you haven't heard the new Run the Jewels.
Oh my God.
Good.
We are
I'm glad I'm preaching to the converted.
Yeah. Big fans on this show.
Yeah. So that same Boston Calling that got canceled, Orville Peck was supposed to play the same day as Run the Jewels and Rage Against the Machine, who I've seen Run the Jewels before, and they're just unbelievable. I'm obsessed with that group.
As a 2-person hip hop act, they are constructed.
So walk me through this, because I listened to the first 2 albums.
Yes.
And I did not care.
Interesting.
I was like, this is just 2 guys swearing at me for 45 minutes. I feel like I've been there. I've paid my dues at punk rock shows and hardcore shows enough that I've paid my dues with this kind of music.
Yeah.
Then they did the song with DJ Shadow, Nobody Speak.
No, nobody. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, there's something more to them. Went back, discovered Meow the Jewels.
Yes.
Did you hear how that happened?
No.
Oh my God. So for the second album, they kickstarted it. and they had some of these stretch goals that were like ridiculous. I forget what the quantity was, but it was like 50 grand. If you raise 50 grand, we will rewrite the entire album as Meow the Jewels. Then what happened is somebody got clever and started a Kickstarter for the Kickstarter goal, and they crowdfunded 50 grand so that they would have to put out Meow. And then when Al got the note that he had to put it out, he was like, shit. And then he spread it out to all his producer friends, which is why that album is so weird and so like oddly constructed.
Yeah, that is terrific.
I love it. I love it so hard.
Well, that was the thing that got me into it. It was like, they've got something more going on here.
Yeah.
Like, there's clearly something I'm just not getting.
I didn't really get into them until the second record is the first one that I really, I was like, okay, like this is really cool. And then the third one just changed everything for me in terms of that band.
I was lucky enough to get floated an LP album back when I was in college. My buddy was into Definitive Jux, and that's where I learned about A$AP Rock. That's where I learned about LP. And then I had found Killer Mike doing his own thing. And I think that's kind of what I'm hearing from you, because Killer Mike's solo stuff is far more politically driven. Like, there's a whole song about how he's claiming that he's glad Ronald Reagan's dead. And like those first two albums, I'm not going to say that, I wouldn't say they were neutered, but they were less pronounced in those first, like his political views were less pronounced. And then as they got more comfortable, he even came out in an interview. It said, you know, at one point, we're going to be labeled a political band. We're not a political band. We're a band that has political views. And then 4, just the fucking timing of it. Oh. And like reading back when they wrote those albums, like when they wrote those words, and like how, was it track 6? The track that has I Can't Breathe.
Walking in the Snow.
Yeah. How that was really written for Eric Garner, but it just so happened, I'm giving myself chills, to fall when George Floyd got murdered. And like, just, there are now people touting it as like the, oh my word, the album of our century, like the protest album of our generation.
I would say that. I mean, I would say I don't think I've heard anything with the exception of, do you guys know Tyler Childers?
The name is super familiar.
Kind of. He's the guy that just did didn't he just like a video like a week or two ago?
So he put out an album called Long Violent History.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know his music, but I've seen, there was a lot of people sharing this video that he did. I want to say it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I watched that and it completely blew my mind. He is somebody that I really wanted to check out just solely based off of that video.
He's another one who I didn't care about really until this. And I liked Run the Jewels. Like, I loved their videos. Their videos are just, they're great. Tremendous. You get into a certain mindset, you get into a certain physical state, and you're like, you know what? It's time to put on a Run the Jewels video. They just know their market. And the Killer Mike Netflix show was great.
Yeah.
And I just kept feeling like I like LP and Esoteric, and I like a lot of the Def Jux stuff, and I like a lot of the A$AP Rock stuff, but I feel like I'm just out of step with where they are. 4 put me in place.
Yeah.
Tyler Childers was the same way. Like I have a couple of his albums. I had pre-ordered a couple, and I always wanted to support him. I was like, this is like, I like his sound, but at the end of the day, 4 songs in, I'm like, it just,
it doesn't hit that
move
spot.
On to the next thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
So he releases Long Violent History, which is 9 songs. 8 of them are instrumentals. And the 8 that are instrumentals are old-timey fiddle banjo tunes.
Cool.
And so I'm like, clearly there's a point here. So I started Googling. I'm a research fanatic. I will get lost researching stuff all day long. And all of the songs are about, like, one of them is called Zoli's March. Well, Zoli was a Confederate officer who was farsighted or nearsighted, whatever it was. It wasn't helpful in the woods of Appalachia where he was fighting. And he actually went to go around the Union troops and surprise them from the rear, but he fucked up and he went around and came from their front. And
all the way up. Geez.
Yeah. And the Union was like, this is too good. And so Zoli put his hands up and said, I I give up. And they shot him in the stomach and they killed him. And so then there's a song called Squirrel Hunters, which is a song I've been trying to learn on banjo for a year. And I just kind of figured it was a fun song about like hunting squirrel. Like, this is what, no, squirrel hunters were union apologists or union people below the Mason-Dixon line who would again do guerrilla warfare in the woods and shoot white landowners or shoot, Confederate soldiers and do much more like stealthy kind of, behind the scenes stuff. And they were called the Squirrel Hunters.
That's awesome.
And so the whole album is like this until you get to Long Violent History. And it's just a song. It'll give you goosebumps. It's one of those songs that the first time you hear it, your colon just drops and you're just like, it was everything I felt in Run the Jewels 4. It was everything I felt there when I first heard that. Like, what I am hearing right now is more important than what I'm thinking it's going to be.
Okay.
And I really believe that those two albums from two very different communities are going to really give people who are listening, sort of a lot to chew on. And I really believe that in our disposable culture, in a culture where, the album came out 2 weeks ago and people are already on to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think that these two things are probably going to circle back around on us at some point.
I can see that. That Run the Jewels record is, I'm a huge music guy, but like you were saying, a lot of the newer stuff that comes out is relatively disposable. So I get super excited about a song. I listen to it for, all of Friday because it just came out. And then I kind of go back to like Run the Jewels or something by Saturday morning. And I'm still, I go back into that listening to the same 5 bands over and over and over again. And then the next week, some band that I like releases a new song. It's fine. I listen to it and then I kind of move on. But yeah, that Run the Jewels record is the only one really that I keep going back to from this year. It's unbelievable.
What does it take for a song to earn its place in your constant rotation?
For a new song or in general?
Yeah. If you have I'm just dealing rhetorically, but you have your 5 standards, right? Whatever they happen to be. And then you get the new thing. Do you find that new thing, there are some things that worm their way into those 5?
No. Okay. Yes and no. Again, definitely the Run the Jewel stuff. I love that band, but like a lot of bands I love put out new music and it doesn't connect with me. That's a band that does. There's this band called the Menzingers. They're like a punk rock band out of Philly. Everything they put out, I love. And that is something that tends to work its way into constant rotation. Other than that, it's just it kind of depends on how I feel, but it's hard for something to really crack into constantly being on.
Sure. Yeah, I hear that totally. There was a book that came out about a year ago that made me stop and really kind of take notice of what I was consuming. It was a book in which all of these new bands were being murdered on stage. I forget it. It was a good book. The premise was better. It's one of those Chuck Palahniuk things where you pick up anything other than Fight Club and you're like, this looks great. And 5 pages in, you're like, I feel dirty.
Yeah, really. You put those words together again.
Yeah, I'm just going to need to introduce myself to my neighbors apparently because this is just awful. And so the premise of the book though is that someone's murdering all of these new bands. And one point in the book, a girl takes her hard drive and she's like, there's 40,000 songs on here that I will never listen to, and just hurls it into the ocean. And I got to thinking about my own view of
I just
music.
felt a sense of loss.
Yeah. But part of me doesn't, part of me is like, I will grab just about anything for $5. That's my tipping point. When you get to $7, $8, I'm like, well, Do I really need this? $5? No problem.
Yeah,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. And so I find that I often buy more than I can consume. And I feel a weird sense of guilt about that sometimes. And I think that's why I go for small bands, because I'm like, well, this $5 means something to, Sierra Farrell, who is a musician out of North Carolina, who I absolutely love. That $5 means she can maybe, it's my clap. It's my nice job.
Right. Please continue making music, because I would like to listen to more music.
So the next Friday that I want to binge, I can pull your new album so that you can continue.
Right.
And I've just been spending a lot of time during COVID thinking about sort of my own level of consumerism and my own level of how I deal with media.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I find like my musical tastes are seasonal, where like this time of year, I tend to go more towards banjo or even like a slide guitar. Like there's a dude I found on YouTube named Dan Dubuque who sits, I want to say he's out in Montana, and he just sits in these beautiful landscape settings and plays his slide guitar, but he's playing like Rage Against the Machine, Killing in the Name.
That's terrific.
And it's super cool. So it's like this country vibe, but it's music that you can actually hear. It's kind of like a Vitamin String Quartet in a way, where it's the music, you know the melody, but it's like a 4-piece orchestra. But as the winter comes, I will start dipping more into the heavier and heavier music. And at a certain point, it'll just be screams and drop Ds. And
is that a seasonal thing? Like, I mean, yes, it is. You just said that, but I mean, like, is that a season? Do you get seasonal? What do they call that? Seasonal depression and stuff?
Very possible. I mean, it also, man, this has turned into a therapy session. It also tends to come at the same time as the overabundance of Christmas music on the radio. So maybe in a way, it's like a subconscious way of fighting that, where everything else is so jolly and happy and blast beats. And
so speaking of Christmas music, my favorite Christmas record is actually not a Christmas record. It's so a couple years ago, I was at work and Billie Joe Armstrong from Green Day and Norah Jones released a record that they did together where they covered the Isley Brothers or the Everly Brothers.
Oh, really?
And I was like, I don't know much about, I mean, I know who Norah Jones is. I know she has a phenomenal voice. I don't know a whole lot about her. I grew up obsessed with Green Day, but like this project makes no sense to me. And what the hell do I know about the Everly Brothers? Like not a whole lot. And it's not like their big hits. It's like this one record. There's a story to it. I think like Billie Joe's mom or dad used to play it all the time when they were younger. And he sat around and would play it all the time. And he wanted to re-record it. He had met Norah Jones at a Grammys party and they kind of hit it off. She loved it. He loved it. They linked up and did it. The only reason it's my favorite Christmas record is because the day that record came out, it was snowing when I was at work. And it was, it's probably like November, maybe early December when it came out. And I listened to it every single day, nonstop for a month throughout the Christmas season. So for the last like 5 or 6 years, whenever I don't listen to that record in the summer because it makes no sense to me. But the first time it snows, if I'm driving home, the first thing I put on is that record.
Isn't that wild? So Galaxy 500, I don't know if they were like a shoegaze indie band from the 90s. And they had a song called Listen, the Snow is Falling. And it was the same thing you're explaining to me, right? Like, so the first time I heard it, it was at college and doing college stuff and looking out the window, and it started snowing. And a buddy of mine from Texas was like, I have waited my whole life to do this. And it was like, it was dark, there was like just cigarettes and beer bottles all around, like no light. And he just put that song on and we just sat and like smoked and watched the snow. He's like, that's
so awesome.
Like 7 minutes, of just us watching snow falling. He's like, I have waited 18 years to do this because Texas never gets snow. And it was just first snow of the season. Plop that song on.
You got to do it.
I don't even think I've listened to the rest of the album. I mean, at least you have the whole album to draw from.
Good point.
All right. Well, we have taken a bunch of twists and turns, but I think we're going to have to pause there and just schedule another time to talk more music with Erik. And clearly the internet wants to hear you talk more music.
Why not, right? We need more music talk.
Seriously.
There's a lot of people out there who have great voices that don't get heard. So
agreed.
This is very true.
If you want people to find you on the internet, how do they find you?
Oh gosh. I guess the easiest would be the Instagram, which is The Novel Sound.
We'll tag you here on the show notes and stuff.
Yeah. I'm not really active on. I'm trying to pull back from Facebook. I know you're trying to get us out the door, but I watched a couple documentaries, The Social Dilemma on Netflix.
I have that. I was going to watch that today and my day got away from me, but this week I want to watch that.
Whatever you have to do after this, don't do it. Just go watch that show.
I have to eat dinner. I'm pretty sure my girlfriend will kill me if I'm like, all right, I'll be out in like 2 hours. I got to watch this documentary.
Just in front. She'll get a lot out of it too. I haven't watched much TV during this whole situation, but that was one of the things. And because I was already present of mind enough when they were saying the stuff, it scared me the rest of the way.
Okay.
You remember those truth ads for cigarettes?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that was right around the time I was quitting, and like, so I'd light up and I'd be in my living room having a cigarette, and then like some kid would be on and be like, everyone I know died from cigarettes. And you're just like, fuck, God, stupid. We put, body bags on the streets and really it is like you're watching and you're like, I'll take another selfie because I'm so good looking. I'm going to do this and this and this. I'm a selfie king. And then all of a sudden it's like selfies are designed to do, and you're like, I've been
everything
shit.
Sucks.
Yeah. I have fallen for it, hook, line, and stinker. But so yeah, you can get me at the Instagram after all that. Go to Instagram.
At the _ novel sound.
Yeah.
Can people still find the Cut by Cut podcast or the Novel Sound podcast?
Yes, it's on Podbean now. So it's, if you just type in Cut X Cut, I'm because of the format of my shows, I'm always kind of running into trouble with iTunes. They're very music heavy.
Sure.
And I don't, even though they're small bands, the bands don't matter, or mind rather, excuse me, but
labels.
Even the labels, like I get shit in my mail. I haven't done a Novel Sound in years, and I still get stuff from like Bern, Switzerland sent to me. Like, enjoy these records. Okay.
That's awesome.
I write to the guys. I'm like, dude, dear Reverend Beatman, I'm no longer doing my show. There's no need to waste postage. Next day, 3 things in the mail. Like, it's nuts.
That's awesome.
So yeah. So every now and then, iTunes flexes a little and sends, kills my feed, and I just have to put it back up.
Understood.
So yeah, so it's still out there at Mixcloud, actually. Okay. The Novel Sound is archived on Mixcloud, and Cut X Cut is archived on Mixcloud. So
perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll link all that. And again, thank you very much for taking an hour and talking to us.
Thank you. I
hope to see you at a convention or some other type of nerdy event here soon, my friend.
And if you ever want to run a D&D thing, let me know. We'll figure it out.
I'm strongly considering it. I've played, but it would
teach me how to play.
It's only
teach
good.
Teach me how to dungeon.
Yeah. Teach me how to dungeon. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Erik.
Thank you so much. This was a blast.
Thanks.
And welcome back, everybody. So that was super awesome. That was a blast. I didn't really know what we were going to talk about. I was not expecting to dive into Dungeons and Dragons right off the bat. So it took me a little while to catch up, but
I wanted to get all the super nerdy stuff out of the way because I told Ricky that he was going to love Erik ahead of time. And then we dug in hard on the nerd shit right off the bat. And
it's fine.
We kind of intimidated you a little bit. So
it was good because like you guys got the Dungeons and Dragons side of the nerdy world out of the way. And then towards the end of it, it was basically us all nerding out on like music.
Right. So the common nerd.
It was
stuff we geek out on.
It was pretty nerdy, but I was into it.
Erik has given me so many fantastic music suggestions over the years. Even now, he's like, yo, give me your address. I'll send you that 7-inch.
Fuck yeah. That's awesome.
So it's cool. I'm glad you guys got along, and I'm glad it was as interesting as it was, because I look up to Erik, and when I needed a mentor type person first getting into comic books, I found Erik, and I'm very thankful. And Bill Hewitt's super rad. I love Bill's art style. It's very playful. I'm going to have to lend you these. You're going to have to read at least one of them.
Yeah, I'd like to check them out.
They're fun. They're in black and white, so they're very classic, but like
cool.
Bill's drawing style is.
That's rad.
Just neat. It's very playful.
I'm into it. Yeah, man. Thank you. That was a fun time.
I'm sure we will be doing another one of our Seltzer Time playlists, and listening to Erik and us talk about music makes me want to be like, all right, it's time for the fall playlist.
We're getting there.
Or the pre-Christmas playlist.
Oh, Jesus.
I got to check out that album you were talking about. My Christmas album of choice is Vince Guaraldi, the Peanuts one.
Oh, yeah. Peanuts. Classic.
Okay. Not very Christmassy.
Yeah, still classic.
All right. Ripping in and stoking.
Soul in.
When you hit them with those stoves, ow! Gotta slap them with those pokes. Oh, yeah. Stokes and pokes.
Cool. Thanks, Solon. So I will start with my pokey poke. WGBH.org put out a fantastic WGBH, but whatever. Anyway, put out a really interesting article today called Disagreement Over Just How Wired Worcester Is. And the long and the short is that people are claiming that Worcester, basically there's a report that says that 1/3 of Worcester doesn't have access to broadband internet, and like 1 in 10 houses don't have the internet at all, or something like that.
Wild number.
Yeah, like a lot higher than I was expecting. And Charter, who we have, is claiming that 99% of Worcester residents have access to, but just because they have access to doesn't mean, basically what it's saying is, doesn't mean they can afford it. As somebody that pays for just internet, we don't even have cable. It is still a $70 bill once a month just for internet access.
We're in the same boat.
Yeah, dude.
I think
like
ours is like, we got that like because we just moved, so we started a new one. So it's like $49. We're like, dope, but it's like for a year.
Bingo. And that's what it is. It always starts that way. And then but you don't have any other options in Worcester. We're stuck with fucking Spectrum or Charter or whatever they want to be called.
I can never figure it out.
They go back and forth. And so people are proposing a municipal option that would be ran by the city that would offer competitive rates, or at least give us more than one option. Because again, these dudes basically have a monopoly here.
Yeah.
People from Charter or Spectrum are saying that look at all these other failed attempts, but currently there are 3 cities in Massachusetts that are currently have municipal options, and all 3, I forget where they were, all 3 state that, we offer competitive rates. As somebody that uses the internet primarily in the city, I'm not getting very good speeds. I rarely get any good speeds. I hate Charter. I've always hated Charter.
Oh yeah, we're a very anti-Charter podcast. Charter sucks.
Yeah. So I wish we had options. I'm down for options. That's what we say.
Hey, I'm into it.
I am stoked about the Harvey Ball, and I'm going to put air quotes there, Harvey Ball, because it was a little different this year, obviously, due to COVID. Respect to the whole crew for kind of doing a little shift in content and changing up how the Harvey Ball looked this year. Instead of a big party, they put together a wonderful Pagano Media worked on a pretty nice video that highlighted the 10 or 20. Oh, it was 20 in 2020. That's what it was. 20 people and organizations that all received the Harvey Ball award. Now, I do feel like it was kind of a ploy to honor a whole bunch of people so that you got all these people to watch it, because it was losing interest and there's only so much you can do. That's even coming from somebody that is technically recognized as part of Powwow Worcester. I was on the video and I said the things that made me smile about Worcester, and they got me singing their little song. So I mean, it was nice for that point, but like, I don't know, as a marketing guy, I also saw through how like, this is just but then you had an interesting point, Ricky.
Yeah. I was in on a lot of the like early meetings of how the Harvey Ball was going to go, which was fun. The things that I like and enjoy and think, and I want to see like Worcester companies doing, and Worcester events doing in terms of like marketing and like, I want to say game presentation, but it's obviously not a game, but same thing, aren't always going to be they're not always going to be like easily digestible, you know? So I'm not super surprised at the way that it looked. I have the video. I haven't actually watched the whole thing yet, but it was cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the Harvey, like,
well, so what I said to Ricky was, I thought it was a little lame that like somebody like Mayor Petty can't get the Soul Award now, like Chuck. Oh my God, not Chuck. What the hell is his name? Cliff Rucker.
Yeah.
Got a couple years ago, or even Dale LePage got. So
I
like,
kind of like the fact that so that's what we were talking about before we recorded. I kind of like the fact that, you know, you force their hand where like now they have to be more creative with who gets that award going forward, because you've knocked off kind of like the low hanging fruit where like city manager, the mayor, powwow,
start on the street.
Like, I mean, not that none of them don't deserve it. Obviously everybody does, but like, I don't know. I don't think you could easily hold everybody's attention for an hour virtually if it was one person who won it. I think they did the right thing. I think they did what they had to do, first of all. But then I also think that it makes it a little more challenging for next year, where it's like, well, you know, a lot of that like low hanging fruit in terms of who wins it has already been picked. So,
yeah, no, I think that's a fair point. We'll see.
So maybe they'll give it to, I don't even know who could get it. Jeff Goldblum.
I doubt it.
I wish.
So yeah, Harvey Ball. If you haven't seen the video, you can find it on their YouTube page, or on their Facebook page, or anywhere. Go to
I think it's on YouTube. Yeah. Yo, if I lose you, by the way, it means my phone died.
It's all good. So go to Worcester Historical Museum and see the video. And then last little stoke that I have is happy 5th birthday to Worcester Wares. Because when this releases, it's after their 5th birthday.
It's true. Happy birthday, us.
What do you got for the people?
All right. So my poke is not to be nonstop talking about this, but the people who support Mr. Trump, who instantly jumped on Facebook and started complaining about the people who were wishing harm on Mr. Trump and saying that everybody's a hypocrite and kind of calling people out for that. Shut up. It's been 4 years of him doing some of the worst things that this country has ever done. So many more people have died because of that man. That is a fact. There are little children in cages. So yes, is it awesome that that piece of garbage came down with the same disease that he didn't take seriously at all until it was way too late? And even while he has it, he is tweeting out today, "Don't fear coronavirus." Fuck him.
Yeah.
Like, fuck that man.
We do not wish the president harm. We do.
True. I'll get banned from Twitter if I tweet that. It's cool though. It's cool though if you know anybody in the world can say they want to kill anybody on Twitter, because it happens every single day, all day long. Ask any female. Right. That's all you ever see. But you know, God forbid you wish that
No, see, I'm going to take the Michael Che from Saturday Night Live approach, and I wish the president a very, very, very lengthy recovery.
Oh yeah, true. Suffer, bitch.
SNL. Did you watch SNL?
I haven't had time yet.
Dude, SNL. Jim Carrey.
Hoping tomorrow.
Oh, fucking fire! So
Nice.
good. All right, what's your poke?
Oh yeah, my stoke is.
Sorry, Stoke.
No, it's all good. So okay, I mean, I'm super guilty of it. I try to repost as much like information as possible. I know that I'm not going to change the mind of anybody who already has their mind made up. I get it. Today was kind of proof of that not being fully true. Fully true. I reposted an infographic about most of the services that Planned Parenthood offers. And I had a friend who I do not see eye to eye with, pretty much at all politically, reach out, and he literally he thanked me, and he was like, I'm not trying to be a wise ass. Like I honestly had no idea that they did all that stuff. And I was like, yep, they do a lot more too. But like that list alone is more than enough for them to be taken seriously. But yeah, it was just kind of interesting. I mean, this person is the father of a young woman. So it's kind of nice knowing that, like, you know, maybe this time around we'll take her future a little more seriously.
Yeah, he's going to raise a strong, independent woman.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad father, because that's not true. But, you know, you got to understand that the choices you make in a month are greatly going to impact the future of your child. And that goes for like literally the entire country. So, you know,
it is good to hear that civil conversations are still being had, and that I'm sure everyone can agree that if we were able to have nice, calm conversations of logic and reason, that the whole world would be a better place. But we are all these meat machines with strong feelings and short fuses. So we're constantly just blowing up at each other.
It's true. 'Tis true.
All right, people. Well, you did it. You wasted another hour and a half listening to us ramble on. And for that, we are forever grateful. You can find us on seltzertime.com and go back and listen to any episodes you might have missed. If you want to find me on the interwebs, I am at Hunchback Travis.
You guys can find me at DickChuck77 or Seltzer Time Official.
Yeah, we still have some of those Seltzer Time shirts available if you wanted to go purchase one of those. Yeah.
Go rate our podcast. Yeah, vote and rate our podcast and give us 5 stars because we're dope.
Toodaloo, people.
Bye-bye.